Trump has set up an international peace board. Many view this board as some kind of dodgy US-dominated replacement for the United Nations. And they are right to be wary. The primary issue the peace board will be dealing with is the Israel-Palestine situation and the fate of Gaza. Luxon has been offered a position on the peace board. Luxon and Winston have rejected this offer after some consideration. They have been strongly criticised for daring to even contemplate this. Hipkins has called it a disgrace that they would even consider it, as have the Greens. I don't really see why. They were right to take the idea seriously. The peace board is obviously highly questionable at best and highly immoral at worst. Putin has a seat on the peace board. Half the people with seats are evil war criminals. However, that does not mean boycotting it is a good idea. We should consider accepting the offer. Winston and Luxon were right to consider it. The peace board is obviously a joke. Half the people on it are evil war criminals. But if it has real power, that is all that matters. And it will have real power. You could easily argue that the pragmatic option may well be to suck it up and accept a position. Not to cozy up to Trump, but to pursue a principled foreign policy from a stronger, more powerful position. If we are not at the table, we are powerless. Trump may well kick us out, and if he did, so be it. But it may be wise to take the opportunity. I do not want to cede control of a powerful body to evil fanatics. There is nothing principled about that. You could apply this logic in many places to many governing bodies. People were going on and on about how the war criminal Putin would have a seat. He also has not just a seat, but a veto at the United Nations, and that is tolerated. So why the hypocrisy? When the United Nations has 5 permanent members, each with a veto, 2 of them being dictatorships, 2 of them being old colonial powers, and 1 superpower with a very long list of war crimes to its name. So spare me the moral grandstanding. Brutal pragmatic diplomacy is nothing new. It is the norm. And refusing to be part of an institution because it has major flaws is not sustainable, unless you want total isolation and total powerlessness. We could apply this logic to many institutions. The US Senate is a very questionable institution. It is dominated by a cancerous 2-party duopoly. It gives some states a hugely disproportionate say. It is hardly a democratic entity. However, only an idiot would refuse to hold a seat on the Senate on that basis. It may be an immoral institution, but it is a powerful institution. When good people boycott immoral institutions, good people condemn themselves to powerlessness. There is nothing virtuous about that. Sometimes you have to work within a bad system to achieve the best possible result. That is the harsh reality. And we need to be pragmatic. The peace board is bad, it undermines the UN, it elevates war criminals, but it will have real power. Considering it was the right choice. Egypt and Turkey have both expressed interest in it. Having as many pro-Palestine voices at the table as possible is critical. Of course, New Zealand would not have been a pro-Palestine voice, but we would have been less Zionist than some of the others. We cannot cede control to rabid Zionists. There is nothing principled about that. I question Labour's demand for a boycott. I question the Greens' self-righteous aversion to this. Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty to actually improve things for people. In all likelihood, all this boycott would do is ensure that the board is dominated by Zionist fanatics. Labour likes to talk a big game on this issue. They were in government for 6 years and never bothered to recognise Palestine or do anything of the sort. It is easy to talk a big game from opposition. I do think this issue is complex. I want to see a considered and pragmatic approach to foreign policy. We should have a values-based foreign policy, but we should pursue our values pragmatically. That may mean playing a role in morally heinous institutions, because the alternatives is to cede control of these institutions to the worst countries. And that will only make the world a worse place. It may be the easy choice, but it is probably the more harmful one. The government was right to take the option seriously. I see strong arguments for either position, and any intellectually honest person should be able to recognise that. The idea that rejecting it was common sense is absolute nonsense. People kept going on about having to pay $1 billion when that was the price of becoming a permanent member. We could have been a temporary member, free of charge. Anyway, the decision has been made. But it is a reminder that some people on the left would rather feel virtuous and be powerless than feel morally tainted and have real influence. That is a very serious issue.